Hi, this is Beth Turner here on The Huddle, and today I'm with Bill Miller, the CEO and President of the AGA. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you so much. Enjoy being here.
Awesome. So I want to just start today by getting a little bit of an update on the AGA, things that you've been up to recently, what you've been up to.
Sure. Well, obviously coming here and taking an opportunity to see what's happening here. We have many of our members from the American Gaming Association here that are exhibitors, but we also run our own trade show called G2E in Las Vegas and also Macau. So it's always important to see what other trade shows look like, and so this has been a great opportunity for that.
Fabulous. And what would you say are some of the biggest issues that the AGA has been tackling recently?
Well, I think that we are always trying to find consensus among our members, trying to figure out what are the issues that they care most about, and then execute against them. And I think about, obviously, the illegal market is one that is very important to us in the U.S. As we've grown sports betting from literally one state in America where you could legally bet on sports to now 39 plus the District of Columbia, that has been an incredibly important change. But the illegal market and some of the people that operate overseas, that operate in the U.S. marketplace, is still an issue and a problem. And then, always, this is an industry in the U.S. that got started with in Nevada and Las Vegas, and has now grown to over 1,000 casinos in the U.S. and states all across the country. And so, for us, making sure that policymakers, people in Congress, we have a new president, we have new Senate and House, new governors, making sure they understand what it is that the gaming industry means in states and communities all over the country is really job one for us, and it's job one every day.
So one of the big topics of conversation at the moment over in the US is sweepstakes. They've
Sure.
been massive.
Yep.
So for you guys, when did you first kind of notice sweepstakes, and what are kind of the primary concerns with its proliferation?
Well, the sweepstakes issue has been one that has come up recently, and the licensing process in the United States on a state-by-state basis is a very rigorous one. The terms of the background investigations of the individuals who are part of the entity that wants to be licensed, whether it be a tribal nation or a commercial operation, and so this process, not just the background or regulatory process to get a license, but then the fee that you have to pay for that license is rather large. And then we typically are the highest taxpayer in almost every state in which we operate. So when we see something that looks just like gaming with all of those requirements, without having to operate with those requirements, it creates a problem. And so for us, it's about making sure that the regulators understand what is at risk here, and that these sweepstakes companies that are operating under a sweepstakes model, but look and feel and act just like our online businesses or our legal online sports books, that they take a look at this, because it's their business and their tax revenues are at risk.
So in terms of sweepstakes, what do you think regulation is going to look like in 2025? I know New Jersey literally just last week had some updates there. Do you think that there's going to be regulation of sweepstakes, or do you think maybe it could be almost a gateway for iGaming in other states?
I think I'd probably separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
I think that iGaming has kind of it hasn't moved as quickly as sports betting, and that's has a lot to do with the different stakeholders that exist in these states. Where if you're a brick and mortar casino and you've invested literally hundreds of millions of dollars in a property, and you have a concern about whether or not that's iGaming is additive or it's a cannibalization effort, then policymakers are going to listen because of the amount of money that those brick and mortar operators pay in taxes. And so I think that's why you haven't seen the same level of momentum for iGaming in the States. And so in place of that has been this sweepstakes effort, and I think that it has caused a great deal of concern, not just in the commercial market, but certainly in the tribal markets, like places like California, where the tribes have been really trying to figure out, how do we do sports betting? And then these guys just layer in and look at what I would call loose regulatory or legal definition and exploit that loose and or legal definition, and it's at the expense of those tribes. And so in places like California and other places, we've begun to get much more attention because of the stakeholders in those states. So my view is there is more action pushing back on them today, and they're doing everything that they can to make sure that they can make their best case that, look, we want to be regulated, we want to be taxed, we want to be treated as the same as these other guys. And the challenge that we have as the representatives of the legal regulated industry is the burden of entry, that level of diligence in order to get a license, to keep a license, and to pay the taxes and hire the people. These guys aren't doing any of those things, or they're doing some, and they say they want to act like the legal regulated industry, and even go so far as to say that they want to participate in responsible gambling activities, on the other hand saying that they're actually not gambling. It's sometimes confusing and vexing.
Yeah, it's kind of, both sides of the thing. It's interesting to go for. So I want to switch topics a little bit and talk about Texas. There's been talk that market could become regulated. If Texas was to become regulated, what do you think that could mean for the US market overall?
Well, I think that trying to predict what a state legislature is going to do is always a dangerous business. I've been in politics or government or advising government most of my life, and I think that while there was a very strong movement after the Supreme Court ruled in 2018 on sports betting to move quickly, Texas, number one, the legislature only meets every other year, not every year. And so that's an important piece. They do meet this year, but if they don't get sports betting done and they don't get integrated resort casino done, then it will be another 2 years before it's even considered. And so there have been some significant opposition within the legislature for that, but I'm optimistic that eventually we will get to that place. And what that means is, it may be as many as 5 pretty large integrated resort casinos, and then in a state that has many professional teams in the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL, and Major League Baseball, golf, all of these things. Texas, the constituents are pretty sports crazy there. They want to be able to bet on sports in Texas, and right today they can only bet illegally. And so we definitely would like to see legal sports betting come. We'd like to see legal gaming come in the form of integrated resorts. But again, it's up to the legislators, and so I do think that it will happen. The question of when is further complicated because of the every other year legislative sessions that they have there.
So it could be a bit of a wait, but it definitely seems like it could coming up. So one thing that's quite interesting about Texas is, do you think that could potentially open doors for California and Florida as well?
Well, obviously Florida is somewhat settled. Number one, the Seminole tribe and the Hard Rock have a pretty strong market position in the state of Florida. The issue that was litigated into the courts, the hub and spoke dynamic of how mobile wagering could take place in the state of Florida, it was settled in the courts. And so Hard Rock, they have a strong market, and a strong market in the state of Florida. Now, California, strong tribal market, but that strong tribal market is in person today. And so what does that look like going forward? I think that there was a very extensive ballot initiative a couple years ago, spent close to $700 million on both sides, basically the commercial OSBs and the tribes, and everybody got nothing. And so there's a question of what that looks like and when. Probably wouldn't be this year, but it could well be in 2026, where that could be back on the ballot with a more inclusive negotiation among tribes and the commercial operators, potentially. I do think that the level of tension between those groups has gone down considerably since, and it needed to in order to get a solution. And so California today, the tribes are successful, but in order to move a import sports betting through the state of California, it's got to go through the tribes. And I think that the commercial operators recognize and understand that now.
What would you say were some of the biggest industry trends of 2024?
Well, I think that the continued mainstreaming of gaming in America is one of the things that is most exciting to me. I think about, we care about numbers. Obviously we care about like how is the industry doing from an economic perspective, right? And so we are now at 45 months in a row of consecutive growth. And you think about what other industry in America or really anywhere in the world that has experienced 45 months of growth since COVID. That's remarkable. And a lot of people said after COVID, well, it's just because people have all this money because they've saved up and they haven't been able to get out of their houses. And the casino industry is an exciting place for them to go and spend all this money and this time that they've been stuck. And so there were many people, Wall Street analysts, et cetera, that said, yeah, but it's a sugar high. It'll go away. And what we see now is that's not the case. It's been sustainable. And it's sustainable because people enjoy the fun that they get to have in person and online with the gaming industry. And so I am really excited about what we were able to do in 2024 with continued expansion, but most importantly, the continued mainstreaming of the industry. There's a lot of people that used to think, they'd see some movie, Casino, or some movie that kind of has a stereotypical view of the industry, and that would frame how they thought of our industry. Now with over 1,000 casinos all over the country, and where we go to the place that got left behind by some other industry. We go to a town that used to be a automotive manufacturing town, went away. Steel, any of these other industries that got left behind, we're that new economic engine in these communities. Creates jobs, it creates tax revenue, it creates social services, funding. And so when people didn't know about us, they were generally informed by the movies or other things, and now they're informed by real life experience with us, and it's in a very favorable way.
We know it's not Casino Royale with James Bond anymore. We've moved past that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's right.
So just one more for you, and obviously this market moves so quickly, it is kind of hard to make predictions, but do you have any predictions for what you think the US market will look like in 2025?
I think that the U.S. market will continue to grow. I think it will continue to be a sustainable market. And I think that, post-COVID, there were, multiple months and quarters that were double-digit growths. I think that those days are behind us. I think that a healthy industry is one that grows in a sustainable way. And that sustainable way comes from two things. One, the economics. Are the economics continuing to be good? And then number two is, how does the public feel about the industry? Are they more accepting of the industry? And I think that our most recent studies, and we go out in the field and we poll the general public, and our industry's never been seen more favorably than it is today by the American public. And I think that's because they've experienced the industry firsthand, not in some stereotypical manner. So I'd look at 2025 as another year in which we will continue to both grow the industry in a sustainable way, but also grow the popularity and the view that we undertake this industry in a responsible manner, which is really key to the long-term success.
Absolutely, it's exciting stuff, and hopefully see where the industry goes from here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.